Hello, welcome to the fifth episode of Across the Pond, and we're going to have a little chat about the American dumpster fire. I mean, the political scene in the United States.
Same
Because
thing,
there's
same thing.
same thing. Shall we do it chronologically? Start with the assassination attempt. Now, I'm hearing a couple of things about this. A guy who's usually quite reliable on peak prosperity, Dr. Tomlinson, I think it was, or something. He says that there was a second shooter. Now, I don't know if that's true. And the second thing I've heard is that the guy, the shooter, the 20-year-old, and this comes from the Heritage Foundation as well. They got some tracking software or something. They've looked it up, and the guy Crook, I think his name was, he had 7 phone calls to his residence and him, and to a building next to an FBI building in Washington D.C. So they're saying that looks very incriminating. Whether this must be organised official assassination attempt.
Yeah, I haven't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Neither of these are 100% reliable, especially the first one, because I don't think there was a second shooter. But obviously, that's not evidence of FBI involvement, but it all looks very fishy. Oh, and I don't know if you've heard that the head of the Secret Service, she's actually resigned now. You hear that?
Yes, she did that today.
Yep.
So if she was smart, she would have done it before she got dragged into Congress. That was not good at all. She should have spared herself that.
Yeah, I got the impression listening to her. I watched a bit of it, talking to that Jim Jordan and one of the two others. She gave me the impression of someone winging it. Yeah, she just didn't have a clue, and she was just dropping one stupid excuse after the other. Like she said, "Oh, what's it? Do you use is it scramblers or something when she makes calls?" And she said yes, and he said, "Well, that's actually illegal." So it's not a thing like Tor. Not scrambling.
Well, I mean, they all try to dissemble and say, well, I can't comment on an ongoing investigation, or that's privileged information. We can talk about it in a closed session later if you want to. All of them from any of these agencies that get called to Congress rely really heavily on answers like that. But because she's so inexperienced, I think she tried to go that route, and they just walked all over her because she didn't really know a lot about how to handle herself in that kind of situation. Which, okay, then maybe she shouldn't have been the head of the Secret Service to begin with. So I guess it all worked out.
Yeah. The only other thing I want to mention is that iconic picture of Trump punching the air with the woman's security wrapped around his waist, so to speak, and the American flag in the background. That is one hell of an iconic picture. I thought, and I was thinking of the one on Iwo Jima, where the Americans raising the flag in the battle for Iwo Jima in World War II. I mean, it's so iconic, and it didn't really surprise me that the BBC didn't show that picture at all. I don't know the rest of the left-wing media. I haven't looked, but bloody hell, even Mark Zuckerberg said that sort of blew him away. And he's got the emotions of a dead fish, and so that's quite saying something. But yeah, I mean, it surprised me, but in a way, it didn't surprise me that the BBC website hadn't put that picture up. But I reckon some media will, and eventually it will. But yeah, all these lies that they're telling now about Trump and everything else, I think the truth will come out once he's gone in 4 years or whenever. But but it'll be their death knell when it, because they're going to have to say to people who trusted them, quite often political fellow travelers, that they thought it necessary to lie continuously to their readers. Well, that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah. Before we move on too far, about the rumors on the shooter, I haven't heard anything at all about the phone calls. I think I did see one or two mentions of the possibility that there was a second shooter, but it was, as far as I could tell, it was just speculation, and nobody had followed up on it that I know of yet. I seriously doubt it. It may be that somebody's relying on acoustic evidence, and it might be an echo or something. But yeah, I haven't seen any kind of verification or any kind of reliable information that there was a second shooter. And like I said, I haven't heard anything about these phone calls, so I don't know what to say about that. But the picture of Trump, yeah, I mean, that it was immediately here in the States. It was all over social media. They were actually showing it on the corporate media news, quote unquote, news channels that you generally associate with the DNC. They were even showing it there. So there was no way to hide it. There was a lot of rumors or gossip, whatever you want to call it, that it seemed staged because they stopped long enough to let him pose for that picture, and there's no way they could have just accidentally got it with the flag in the background and everything. So they're trying to say that they actually set it up. Trump he let himself get shot in the ear just so he could take that picture or something. I don't know. It's fucking ridiculous. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. And but there you go. The partisans will go down the weirdest rabbit holes.
Yeah, Trump said there that the security services wanted to stretcher him out of the ground, but he wouldn't have any of it, which is fair enough. Because if you're bleeding, the way to stem bleeding is to put that part high in the air. If you
and apply pressure,
yeah. So, yeah, it's a stupid idea. Well, yeah, I mean, apparently they're not really Secret Service agents. Some of them, they were seconded from a local office or something.
Well, I think everybody that was surrounding him, everybody that piled on and around him, as far as I know, those were all Secret Service. The other agencies that were contributing manpower and things, they were like perimeter duty and things like that.
Makes sense.
Of course, obviously, maybe they could have done a better job too, but yeah, it started with the Secret Service. They damn well should have known that rooftop the kid used was a danger, and there never should have been any possibility that somebody could climb up on the roof like that. That was ineptitude at a level that begs or beggars coincidence.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I've got nothing to add. I'm just gobsmacked when I just see the photos of it. It's like setting him up for it. Talking of, shall we move on to the Kamala coup, as they're calling it, or the Democrats protecting our democracy or their democracy? The things that I've said that again, some rumors. Obviously, Biden was sort of crowbarred out of the scene, and they don't know where he is now because he hasn't appeared for 5 days. And they've obviously anointed Kamala as a diversity hire to put up against Trump. Now, I'm just saying a minute, the way I think of it, in a way, if it's a fair election, then Kamala's likely to lose. So I mean, so I thought it would be someone like her or Pete Buttigieg, sort of mediocre nobodies who they can not one of the big hitters like Newsom or anyone like that. But if they do win the election, that they've got someone who's like Biden who'll be a puppet, because upstairs, I mean, she might be a good clerk and doing this. She doesn't appear to have joined up thinking, if you know what I mean. I saw Trump mention that she talks in rhymes. Would he say the car went down the road, then the car came back again? That's sort of in a way like saying she doesn't have joined up thinking. She can't follow an idea through. She might be a good lawyer because she's reading about cases and she can put bits together like that, but that's not sort of joined up thinking. If you don't understand.
I think she tries too hard to sound clever and ends up sounding like an idiot. Like what was that about time? The something of time. It's not consequence, but it's something like that.
It's like
the consequence of time is that time is consequential.
Yeah,
it's just I guess it would sound smart to somebody who's not very smart, but to everybody else it just sounds like word salad.
Yeah, circular tautological mash of words, isn't it? Like, so time is real if you can understand reality and time. No, it's back and back. It's not going anywhere, so it's not joined to anything else.
And to make it worse, she seems to overuse them in all kinds of speeches and situations. The one I've seen the most is the seeing how things can be while not being burdened by the way they were, or something like that. And there's like more than a dozen clips of her using that in different speeches and things. And it's like, oh, come on. You're the vice president. I think you can afford a different line every now and then.
Yeah, I think with Kamala, unless there's another coup at the Democrat convention, which I'm not prepared to rule out.
Let's go ahead and start with, this is the third primary in a row that the Democrats have rigged. They've done away with the will of the people. Democracy be damned. They have arranged things and put their thumb on the scales, and this time they just flat out said, no, we're not having a primary, to get their preferred candidate. And so there is no democracy in the Democrat Party right now. So whatever happens at the convention, they've done it to themselves. So I have no sympathy whatsoever.
I've heard that in some states that they've already got Biden's name on the ballot paper and that can't be removed. It's like Nevada. I don't know how true that is. I've heard something in similar as well, but I don't know if that's exactly true. But
the only one I've been paying a lot of attention to is the Ohio ballot, and that's the one where they have to have a nominee certified by August 7th, and so they've got to do that in a Zoom call because their convention in Chicago doesn't start until like the 17th or 19th or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the one that I've been keeping one eye open for, because at that point, whoever that Zoom call nominates is going to be their quote unquote legitimate candidate, or authenticated candidate. And so whatever happens at the convention in Chicago is just more or less going to be certifying that result.
And you can expect with the election coming, any criticism of Kamala Harris, and there's likely to be a lot, it's all going to get labelled as you're just a sexist Hitler. You know, I've come to a conclusion for, well, the new left, as I'd call them, because I wouldn't smear old left in this way, is that race for them isn't an issue, it's a weapon. And the same way with sex as well. So
Yeah,
they've got
well,
a couple of weapons.
it's all under the umbrella of identity politics.
Yeah.
And identity politics is what they're really leaning into, because what else have they got? They don't have policy. They don't have personality. They don't have, a platform or anything that genuinely appeals to people. So all they can do is say, well, at least we're better than the other guys. And hey, look, we checked all these boxes, and that's all they've got.
Yeah, all the things we've spoken about so far, including the assassination attempt on Trump, on removal of Biden, and the anointment of Kamala, these are all power play. It's all about power. It's not about ideas or anything. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't state any clear policies where Kamala differs from Biden. They obviously, and whenever Trump comes up, they quickly try to flip from issues to the individual, so to speak. They they'll do the same with Kamala, again, identity politics, as you say, but it's also a habit of them. If they don't want to discuss the issues, they'll go ad hominem on their person. In this case, Trump. All right, he's provided them with a lot of ammo, and I think if there's a debate coming with Trump and Kamala Harris, you're going to see a very different Donald Trump than before.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, because I don't know if you saw the Republican convention, but they showed Donald Trump.
I saw quite a bit of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
He looked a different person, and when he went up to shake hands with Trump Jr., the look in his eyes, like, you were one nod away from being in the grave. You could see that in the face of the father and the son there. That was sort of like, whoa. Yeah, so I think going forward,
and that was just a charged moment all the way around. I mean, there was the near-death experience, and then there was, okay, this is the moment. If we nail this moment, we've got it in the bag. So all we have to do is get this one night, just perfect, and that's it. We can't be beaten. So I'm sure there was pressure on him from all kinds of sides.
Yeah. So all Donald Trump has to do is not screw up or not get the rug pulled from under him. I was reading someone that you can probably expect 2 or 3 more Black Swan events before November the 5th. Maybe they'll get Black Lives Matter out rioting when Trump might say something clumsy. Say, didn't he call Minnesota or some city a bit of a shithole or something like that? Well, if he says something like that, they could organise a riot in the city and say, well, that's Trump's fault. But now I don't think too many people are buying it. They see their tactics and how the media goes along with them.
Well, they like they usually do. They find a tactic, like taking something that he said out of context, and it kind of works the first time they do it. So they use it on everything he says. He's going to be a dictator, but they leave out all the context of what he was saying about that. Oh, he said it's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah, but he was just talking about the auto industry, but they never include the context. They just say, oh, he's going to be a dictator. Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath. And yeah, like you said, people have they've overused it. People have gotten wise to that now. They know what they're doing. It's obvious that they're only taking a word or a phrase out of context and then trying to say that it's something that it isn't. So it doesn't work anymore. It lost its mojo.
I agree. The same with identity politics. I think there's a tiring of it. I can't think of anything to add. I mean, these were the three topics that I had in mind. In the UK, it's tame and boring by comparison. We've got new Starmer government, and he's doing things that the Tories probably should have done. And he's announced they do the King's speech or Queen's speech where they bring in Charles and he rings out a speech. My government's going to do this, that, and the other. And they've obviously written it for him because he's a figurehead monarch. So it's not what he decides. So he reads that out, and it's more of the same what Blair has been doing. They're farming out power from Parliament to quangos like Supreme Court, European Court, Human Rights, and other organisations, in a way that when some other government comes in, probably Conservative or whoever, they'll find it very difficult to undo what they've done, which defeats the object of a democracy, because when one party screws it up, the next party is supposed to come in and put it right. So they're effectively, it's sort of a political version of gluing the brake pedal down and snapping the steering wheel off. Because even if your politics are the true way, something could come along and blindside them where you might have to take drastic action. But this is their ideological stupidity or extremism, as I call, where they try and look fluffy, nice, caring, considerate. But you look underneath the surface, they're doing some very dangerous things. Yeah, that's the only thing I've got to add from the British political scene at the moment.
And that's something I don't know about everywhere, but we definitely have that commonality here in the States too, where the politicians love to say one thing and then govern completely differently, or they promise the moon and the stars, and then as soon as they get elected, oh well, that's not a top priority. We'll have to look at that again, in a week or a month or whatever, and it just never happens. A lot of just flat out lying and hypocrisy, saying one thing, doing another. That pretty much sums up politics in America right now.
I also read that in America they're weaponizing the Department of Justice, FBI, etc., by turning it into effective branch of government, and they're also siloing these departments, which means separating them out so they can't communicate with each other, which means it's harder to bring in checks and balances. So someone who's at the top of the silo has control over one department has effectively free reign without alarm bells going off in other departments. And of course, information doesn't travel to and fro, which can create other problems. So that's one of the things I was reading about a month or so ago about the American governmental system. It was Obama that brought this in. And again, it's to say if Trump gets in, they want to set up a system where he can't actually do anything. And they're moaning that the Heritage Foundation are saying that Trump can't use military forces on American soil, but that's because they're trying to prevent him from using the Insurrection Act.
Well, that has always been a thing. The military is not supposed to be used on American soil against Americans ever. I mean, that it has never been otherwise. There's always been a clear wall between the military and like civil
but
law
they sent the military,
things like that.
They sent
Now,
the military
in an emergency like the Hurricane Katrina down in New Orleans, when they sent in the National Guard, that is an extenuating circumstances, and it's the governor who invites them or deploys them. Since it's a National Guard, they're actually under the governor They're not federal, at least not at that level.
Did-
So, but so talking about using troops to like quell a riot or something like that, yeah, that's crazy talk. That
But
that is not something America is supposed to be about.
Yeah, but didn't they use the 101st Airborne to in the South to enforce desegregation? I remember seeing pictures of it, sort of escorting black students on campuses, Alabama. That
No, I know that they had to step in and escort people. I don't know who was doing the escorting, but then again, that may have been like the National Guard or something, where the governor of the state requested them to, in this emergency circumstance, to come in and do this thing. It wasn't like federal troops. I don't think. I've never heard of it being like 101st Airborne or something. But I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, we'll bring that up in the next one, can't we? Yeah, because I can look at, and there's also the shootings at Kent State. That was that the National Guard? Kent State.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Anytime you see troops deployed at like a riot or the aftermath of a natural disaster or something like that, that's the National Guard. And they're actually, every state has their own division of the National Guard, and the governor deploys them in emergencies. It's not like a top down from the White House kind of thing. That would be more like, say, FEMA or something like that.
Right. But doesn't the Insurrection Act, didn't they amend that with the Patriot Act so that that the federal government can deploy soldiers in a emergency, which could be things like, even though it wasn't used, Black Lives Matter, burning down cities, killing about 30 or more people. That's the sort of thing I heard.
As far as I know, the only way that like the president can send federal troops like Army, Air Force, Marines, whoever, the only way that could happen is if they declare martial law. We're no longer, a democracy. We're under martial law, and that's a completely different animal. I mean, that's not just, I think I'll send some troops over here just because. That is, okay, the country is now on lockdown. We're basically a military junta, and it's a completely different game at that point.
Yep. Okay.
But one other thing, you might want to keep an eye out on this side of the pond. I believe it's tomorrow. Netanyahu is going to be addressing a joint session of Congress, and there are some protests that have been planned for some time now. I know Code Pink, and I'm not sure who else is going to be in on it, but yeah, you can expect some
trouble.
what's a good word for it? I don't know if trouble is the word for it, but yeah, there's going to be some excitement. There's going to be some drama. That's for sure. So I don't know where or how much or what's going to happen, but yeah, it's going to be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I look forward to that. So, shall we wind it up now?
Could do.
Yeah,
So, bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye. See you again next time.